Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Realtree, Hoyt, Muddy Outdoors, Fuse Accessories, Frigid Forage, Rocket Arrowheads, Scott Archery, Night and Hail Game Calls, Cabela's, TrailCamPro.com, Execute Scent Control, and Nikon.
Welcome to Midwest Whitetail. I hope you had a good Christmas. We had an awesome Christmas here at the Winkie family. Spent some time with my parents at their home up in northern Iowa. It's just such a great time of the year for families. You know, we take this opportunity, of course, to celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but it's also a great time to be with family, slow down, kind of put everything back into perspective. So I hope you had a really good Christmas. We've got an episode today where we're kind of in between. You know, it's the firearm seasons are tailed off, and we're really starting to ramp up for my own late season bow hunting. So I'm going to bring you an update of what I'm doing and this buck that I told you about last week that I'm excited about getting after. I'll tell you some more about that deer, and then also Greg Clements has been out doing some hunting, so he's going to bring you some updates. So let's jump right to the action.
Well, ever since Bill tagged out with G5 back in early November, he's been gracious enough to let me hunt his farm. So this past week I hunted 3 really good spots, both with a bow and a muzzleloader, and the strategy was pretty much the same for each hunt, hunting over standing soybean food plots in the evenings. So I had some pretty good action, and I learned something different on each hunt.
Well, today is December 19th. We're on Old Reliable Ridge. We're hunting the south end of the food plot tonight. We still can't get that west wind that we need to hunt farther up the food plot. But the thing I've noticed about this stand, and the thing I like about it, is the fact that we can get out of here clean. The few times that we've hunted it before, even though we've had deer out in the field, we've been able to get down and get out without spooking anything, which is critical. So that's what I like about this setup, even though we're a little bit farther down from where the deer come out. But it's about 3:30 right now, and we've got about an hour and a half, 2 hours to hunt. That's off. Yeah. Well, that was exciting. That was about the best outcome that I could think of right there. We had been watching about 15 deer out in the field, and there were several bucks that came out on the other end, and one of them was a 7-pointer. It wasn't a very big deer, but if you would have been a fully mature deer like a 5-year-old, you know, I was kind of thinking about him being a candidate to shoot. I watched him for a long time and determined that he was only 3 or 4, but at that point we had watched him for so long, we had a couple does go by us, and unfortunately we had one more doe come out. She worked right down the middle of the plot here. I got her stopped at 40 yards, and it looked like she ducked again. I mean, that's the same thing I had happen last time. Arrow caught her in the shoulder, but that rocket sidewinder got through, probably got both lungs. I watched her fall. Like I said, that's about the best outcome we could have had tonight. We had a lot of deer out in front of us that we're going to have to get cleared one way or another. Typically when I've hunted this stand in the past, they've gotten by us, or they've been far enough down on the other end that we can get out clean, but tonight that wouldn't have been the case, so that was perfect.
Old Reliable has provided a lot of action-packed hunts for us this year, both for Bill and for myself. And the lesson I learned on this hunt has to do with deer reacting to the sound of the shot and jumping the string. At this point, we've got 3 deer that we can compare from this year, and they were all about 38 to 40 yard shots. And the first one was the buck that Bill shot, Daggers. Bill had stopped him with a grunt. The deer was on alert. He ducked. The arrow caught him high in the spine. Fortunately, Bill was still able to harvest that deer. But anyways, this is a subject that he's talked a lot about the past couple of years, and we keep learning more about it as we shoot at more and more deer. And the second deer was a similar situation. This was a doe that I shot at 3 weeks ago. She was at 38 yards, feeding calmly. It was a pretty windy evening, so I thought, I probably don't need to aim low. She's not going to hear the bow. She's not going to duck very much, so I held on for a center long shot, and I couldn't have been more wrong. She dropped, arrow skipped off her back, took a little hair off. She's no worse for the wear, but that really taught me, that I need to aim lower, aim for that lower third, even if they are calm. So coming into this hunt, I had that in my mind, and as this doe walked by at 40 yards, I had to grunt to stop her, and put my 40 on the lower third of her body, about heart height, caught her high in the lungs. It worked, obviously. She didn't go very far, and it was a quick kill. And as you can see, I didn't have much room left. If she would have ducked any more, it probably would have resulted in a high hit that wouldn't have got her. So that just taught me I need to hold even a little bit lower than that. For a 40-yard shot, it seems that I would have to hold on the bottom of the chest for a dead center double long shot. That's just about how far they've been dropping. So hopefully maybe you learned something from that footage as well, and maybe that'll help you out on the next deer that you shoot at too.
Well, here it is. It's December 20th. We're only 5 days away from Christmas. Hard to believe the season has flown by so fast, but the good thing is there's some really good hunting to be had this time of year, and tonight might be one of those nights. The only bad thing is I don't know how many deer I'm going to have come by me tonight, because when I was walking in, there was probably 15 of them already past the blind in another bean field across the fence here. But I was able to sneak in on the other side of this line of cedar trees and get in without spooking those deer, although there was one doe and fawn out in front of the blind here I had to bump, but I don't think it really caused any harm. So I'll be curious to see how many more deer there are that will come out here, because there was a whole bunch of them that were already out. Obviously I got in a little bit late. I would think there'd still be a pretty good chance that I'd be able to shoot a doe tonight, which really is my mission.
Alright, well here's the doe that I shot tonight, and thankfully she's quite a bit smaller than the one I shot last night, because I had to drag this one out by myself. And I learned my lesson about getting out to your blind or stand early, especially on days like this in the late season where you have a cold front moving through that brings precipitation, and then it kind of quit midday. The deer that I saw when I was walking in had to have been up on their feet by 1:30 to have made it through this field, across the fence, and then out into the field where I saw them when I was walking in. So lesson learned there, but still a good evening.
We've got late season hunting coming ahead now for the next couple of weeks. I believe our season ends, well, we end on the 10th, but the ATA show is the 10th. So I'm going to miss the 9th and the 10th of January. So I've got about, 2.5 weeks or thereabout of my season left. And I did find a big buck to hunt. And I kind of alluded to that in the last episode. And it probably isn't any big surprise, but it's this deer that we've called the double G4 buck. He's showing his face again on one of the food plots that I've got. The problem with the deer now, though, he's a 6.5-year-old buck. So, you're thinking, the deer might have a couple more years to live. If I can't kill him with the bow, no big deal. He's lived here this long, he'll probably be here next year. But he's really showing some pretty rough condition with his coat. The whole back half of the deer is really looking rough, and he's losing a lot of his hair. He's almost looking kind of gross, really. But sent some pictures of this deer, some trail camera pictures to Dr. Grant Woods to take a look at, and he didn't know for sure what the condition was. He just said it's not good, whatever it is. The deer is obviously not in prime condition, and if we have a hard winter, maybe the winter will take its toll and could kill this deer. So now the dilemma is, I'd love to bow hunt him, and if I don't get him, leave him till next year and bow hunt him again next year. But now I have to decide whether or not to take the firearms with me. It's the muzzleloader season. The tag I've got allows me to hunt with a muzzleloader or a bow. So I could take the muzzleloader out to the blind with me and possibly if the deer is outside of bow range, shoot him with the gun. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not yet. I'm leaning toward not taking the gun and just kind of hoping for the best if I can't kill him with the bow, hoping that the deer can survive. So that's the situation where I'm at right now. Put the blind out on last Saturday. It was comical because I had a trail camera picture of the deer the day before. I put the blind out and then he just vanished. Other deer showed up in front of the blind on the cameras pretty consistently, and it took them about 3 days before they really got comfortable with that big blind being out there. I'd brushed that blind in completely. The thing looks like a giant 11-foot tall Christmas tree out there. I even had a couple of friends say they were going to sneak out and put presents underneath it just to surprise me when I went out to hunt. So the deer accepted it fairly quickly, but the buck that I'm after, he has not shown or did not show for the first 3 to 4 days. And I did pull the card off one of the cameras that was on the field scan mode right next to the blind, and way off in the distance, I believe I can see the deer crossing the food plot. So he's still there, still in the area, still showing a little bit of daylight activity, but he's still quite leery of this blind. And that was, like I said, that's one of the risks that I faced in bringing that blind in there. There were some big oak trees, but I would have had a 60 to 70 yard shot out into the food plot. Would have been fine with a gun. Probably could have got on this deer a lot easier with a gun, but with the bow, the only chance really of killing this deer seemed to be to move a blind in. So that's why I decided to take the risk. I'm not going to go in and start hunting until the deer is starting to show up more comfortably or more in a relaxed state around that blind. And I'll keep running the cameras on the field scan mode. At some point, hopefully he'll pop up and start showing up with a little bit of daylight activity out there, and we'll move in with the bow and make our play for him. So that's about it. I'm out here doing a little bit of in-season practice this evening, and it's kind of typical, I guess, as we go through the hunting season, we spend less and less time shooting our bows, and it's just the opposite of what we should do. So I'm taking this chance where I'm not in the field hunting and spending as much time as I can out here on the range, keeping my skills sharp. You never know what kind of shot you're going to get out of a ground blind. I mean, if that deer shows up at 50 yards, I want to be ready to take the shot because it might be the closest shot I get all season on this deer. So I'm working on my shooting skills now and biding my time. So come back again next week. I'll have some more updates for you on this buck that I'm hunting, and maybe with a little bit of luck or a lot of luck, I'll even be able to put him on the ground. I know we're going to be going after him. As soon as we get him on the cameras on any kind of consistent pattern, we're going to be in there after him. So maybe by next week, we'll have some more information for you on this deer. I appreciate you joining us this week, and we'll see you back here again next week for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail. And remember to always dream big.
If you watch Midwest Whitetail over the years, you've probably seen a few successful hunts from down in this bottom. And